Welcome to Far North Tokers, video style. Today is September 5th, Jury Rights Day, and Far North Tokers went on site at Rabinowitz Courthouse in Fairbanks to check in with human activist Frank Turney as he hands out literature, talks to people, even has a cake. Spreading joy about jury rights. If he could dress up like Willliam Penn, I think he would have.
I'm not William Penn, but, I gotta wear the hat.
Our story starts when William Penn was born to Admiral William Penn in 1644. In the fall of 1660, he enters Christ Church College, Oxford University. He's fined for having services at the home instead of at the chapel. Right here, he comes under the influence of Quaker Thomas Lowe. 1 year later, he's expelled from Oxford for having his own services in his room instead of attending chapel. His father beats him. In 1665, he begins to prepare for a career in law at Lincoln's Inn, Chancery Lane, London. He gains some experience with courtroom strategy. He's going to need it. Fall of 1666, he begins the practice of law in Ireland. The next year, he converts to the Quakers in Ireland, 1668. On the 3rd of September, he and the other friends attending a meeting at Cork are arrested. Late that year, he leaves for London for a confrontation with his father about his newfound religion. Now, Quakers, basic treatise with the Quakers is very plain. There is no leader of the church. Pacifists do not believe in war, aggression, which would help William Penn later in the colonies with his interactions with the Native Americans and with other colonies. After William Penn converts, goes back to see his father tries to disown him, but can't bring himself to do it. He writes the pamphlet, The Sandy Foundation Shaken. For it, he's sent to the Tower of London without a trial. Penn's released after about 8 months in the Tower, in July of 1669. While he's imprisoned in the Tower, he writes this letter to Lord Arlington, Secretary of State, showing the illegality of his imprisonment. Force may make hypocrites, but it can make no converts. There's a problem with Church of England. Church of England says it can only be one church. William Penn's got a problem with that. He's a Quaker. They passed this law, the Conventicle Act, prohibited any tumultuous assembly from meeting outside the Church of England. 1670. The meeting house in London is padlocked. Can't get in. William Penn says, all right, fuck it. I'm going to preach outside.
Yeah, in 1670, William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania, him and his congregation were preaching on a London street, and they were arrested for preaching a different religion known as Quakerism. At that time, the church was run by the government, the Church of London, and evidently the judge sentenced, put those jurors that would not find him guilty. They spent 4 weeks of incarceration without lack of food and water and toiletries.
Tobacco even.
Then tobacco. They stood fast, and anyway, they found William Penn not guilty, and that's what brought about our freedom of religion, the freedom of press, and freedom of assembly in this country. In fact, it was the first habeas corpus ever filed to release those prisoners. The habeas corpus, the first one ever filed, was in that William Penn's case. So
he's arrested. Seems pretty simple, right? What are we going to do? Simple case. One issue. Did William Penn preach at the church? If the answer was yes, and the facts are clear that he did, the case is over. If he preached, then he calls a tumultuous assembly. Penn's jury didn't like the law. They decide not to convict. They refuse to give a verdict against them. The king says, lock him up. 2 days pass. Jury has no food, no water, no heat, no tobacco, no restroom facilities, nothing. They didn't change their minds. The court ended the trial without accepting the verdict. They just say, fine, we don't need your verdict. The jurors were fined, sent to prison, where they were to remain until the fine was paid. Penn writes, Charter of Fundamental Laws includes as freedom of conscience. My prison shall be my grave before I will budge a jot, for I owe my conscience to no mortal man. Freedom of conscience right here. The jury is imprisoned for their verdict and successfully sues the judges for false imprisonment, as the king's bench decides that no jury can be punished for their verdict. This establishes the right of juries to give their verdicts according to their own convictions. a principle of law established by this trial. So not only is William Penn sent to jail, but the jurors are sent to jail. They cannot be released until their fine is paid. As we found out, the jurors get out. William Penn begs his father not to pay for his fine. His father pays for his fine anyway. William Penn gets out. What later becomes of William Penn, he's still causing trouble. Remember Admiral Penn? I heard the story that he was owed a lot of money by the king, and this money came from a card game. The king says, all right, I'm going to give you land in the new world, right? He's got to get out of here. Send your son, William Penn. That's the deal. Send William Penn, give you the land. William Penn goes on to found Pennsylvania, helps with Delaware, New Jersey, many treaties with Native Americans, sets up jury nullification, habeas corpus, lots of foundations. Thank you, William Penn.
And also, this is the 25th anniversary of the Fully Informed Jury Association. 25 years, so I think I got about 20 years under my belt. So I just try to emphasize more and more that jurors have a right to vote their conscience. They have a right to judge the laws and facts of controversy, regardless of that judge's instruction. If there's no victim, there's no crime. The biggest and the most powerful law enforcement agency in the United States has absolute non-negotiable power to ignore laws, to keep people out of prison, ignore judges and prosecutors, make any jury trial come out the way they want, and make our government honest. What is this agency? The Fully Informed Jury Association. So call 1-800-TELL-JURY. Thank you.
This must be unreal for you.
Oh, I love it.
A few years ago, it wasn't that easy for you to say that number, was it?
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, 1997, I was convicted for handing out a 1-800-TELL-JURY. I went all the way to the Court of Appeals. I should have went to the Supreme Court because I had one appeals court manhammer thought I had a right to free speech, and he talked about the history of jury nullification. So that's my fault. Of course, at that time I had a public pretender. That's what I call him. And I didn't trust him.
All right, so we're down here at the courthouse with Frank Turney, human rights activist. Today, juries help all kinds of ways, don't they?
Oh, you betcha.
Last protection. Well, maybe not the last protection.
That's
one
right.
protection.
That's a final check
peaceful.
and balance. You know, no matter what, it's a final check and balance, whether the laws are coming from your city, borough, state, or federal government. It's up to the jury to make the final decision.
Soapbox, ballot box, jury box.
Ballot box, jury box, grand jury box, and sometimes the ammo box.
Mm.
Right, for fully informed juries.
Getting some pictures.
Jury information.
Pardon?
Jury.
Huh?
Jury.
You guys have trial by jury in your country? Or do they trial by the judge? Oh, by the judge, huh? No jury, no jurors, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, they do? Oh, I guess so.
Thank you.
That's how I'm out here, and also, once again, this is a 25th anniversary of the Fully Informed Jury, a non-profit association, educational association to inform and educate all citizens about their rights when they're serving on a jury to vote their conscience and judge the law as well as the facts of controversy. So, Jury Rights Day.
Thank you for joining us on this special video edition of Far North Tokers. You can find the podcast on SoundCloud. Search Mid Toker. Facebook as well. FarNorthTokers.com. See ya!